Guys of Reddit who have rejected someone. What's the worst way someone has taken it? A girl at work started playing some aggressive footsie at work. When I pushed her foot away and gave her a look, she went on to tell me I'm not as attractive as I think I am and that I should start dating girls in my own league. I came home from work to find her naked on my bed about a week after we broke up. She went into complete denial about the breakup and 4 months after would tell people we were still dating show up at my house. Was in NY during Fleet Week, in my dress whites with my group, waiting to cross the street. Drunk girl comes up to me, grabs me and says she's always wanted to be with a sailor. I gently stiff arm and let her know I'm happily married, but point out my young single shipmate in the group. But I wasn't you. Her friends have arrived by this point. She told them I was being mean, because I said no, and started crying. The friends confronted me. It's her birthday though. Your wife isn't even here. Just be nice. I dated a girl for a week when I realized she just wasn't my type and I wasn't hers, so I told her we would go our ways. Her way, however, was to stalk me for 3 freaking years, because we were meant to be together for life. Highlights were making fake internet accounts of other girls I dated in those 3 years and knowing frightening much about me and these girls while writing me, impersonating them. Calling every day. When I changed numbers she called every other person in my life she had the number of. Trying to date people I know in my life. Making weird collages of me and her on Facebook. Making up fake stories of her and me and many more. Thank God it became less and less after long and exhausting talks I had with her to make her stop on and on again. Didn't hear from her since 2015. Told everyone in the office I was gay. I have no problem with gay people so I played along. A girl in high school out of the blue started describing what our house would be like once we got married and had kids. Told her that I really wasn't interested, and she lost her goddamn mind. For like 2 weeks she'd wait by the doors after school just to glare at me. Never said anything, just glared. She stalked the shoot out of me, stole hair clippings and made a shrine to me in her closet. She was a real mental case. It's been over a decade, but she still seems to find me somehow. We'd dated a few times and I decided that, while she was nice, I wasn't interested in pursuing a long-term relationship with her. I thought it would be best to let her know face to face rather than over text, so we met up for a drink in the city. I made sure we got a booth for some privacy, and told her that it'd be nice, but that I don't think taking things further was going to work. She began to cry uncontrollably and very loudly demanding what she'd done wrong. Even from our booth, people started looking over at us. Maybe it was unfair of me to do it in public, but honestly, we'd only went out for dinner and drinks about 4 times by that stage so I wasn't expecting her to react so strongly. Lying to me that she had become pregnant and intended to keep the kid. We had always practiced safe Shreks, but condoms have a non-zero failure rate, and there's no good way to tell someone who says they're pregnant that they're wrong. So I took her at her word. After 3 weeks of her stalling on showing me any kind of proof beyond her word, she told me it wasn't going to be a problem, but I was beside myself with stress until then. Meanwhile, I'm figuring out if I need to lawyer up. I take responsibility for myself. So being a deadbeat wasn't an option, but child support was going to throw a huge wrench into my financial plans. I was in the middle of moving to a new city as well. All in all, it sucked. Near as I can tell, her goal was to inflict stress and pain. She succeeded. One took it gracefully. We're great friends and it has never been mentioned again. One took it okay enough. Conversations got colder, but no baggy. One couldn't take no for an answer. Every conversation progressed to do you want to why don't you want to date me? Got old quick. I tried being nice and letting her off easy, but she wouldn't stop. Cut her out of my life, but the last thing she told me was, I'll wait for you. I'm not even good looking. In high school, this girl would not stop texting me so I blocked her. She then went on to tell her friends she was depressed and couldn't GRT over me even though I rarely spoke to her in person, only through her constant stream of messages. After that she fainted almost once a day during class, but coincidentally only in the classes she shared with me, then would cry to her friends that I was the reason she was fainting. Of course though, she never hurt herself during these faints and always managed to land comfortably on the ground. She also used to just storm out the door in the middle of class and literally fall out the door. A dude asked me over to his house to study. He put on some peen and asked to jerk me off. I said no and then he figured he'd ask if he could blow me. I rejected him and told my mum to come get me. He persisted the whole time. Then at school every time he saw me he very loudly called me gay to everyone around him. I am not into dudes and he was in the closet. Honestly, I just smiled and kept moving every time and he eventually gave up. I think he came out 2 years later and was one of the 4 gay dudes in school in revolving relationships with each other. Not rejected, but ended a relationship where she was clearly looking for something more serious than I was. She put on a smile, said she was disappointed and we went our separate ways. I see her a few weeks later in a Starbucks and all hell breaks loose. Starts ripping me apart in line, crying while telling me I'm not a real man. I haven't been back to that Starbucks since. Met some friends at a bar event. Friends had a girl who was beyond shoot housed with them. Friends mentioned going back to their place. I decide to buy a burrito and go home. Girl says I should come with. I respectfully decline. She demands I come with. I decline again. Well, at least give me a good night kiss if you're not gonna come with. I pass, because I do not know her, I'm not remotely into her, and do not want to know her. This girl goes batshit. She's shrieking obscenities at me, trying to slap me from the railing she's against, just losing her mind. My friends are trying to calm her down, and I just peaced out through the kitchen of the place, because I worked there. Dated a girl from work. After a few dates I didn't see it going much further, ended it. Girl pretty much spread around we fricked at work. We didn't. That single-handedly cost me any kind of promotion or horizontal move off what I was doing, so I ended up changing jobs about 12 months later after every application for promotion was given to someone else despite myself having a lot more experience know-how with what we did. Prior to that I was being moved around from project to project. After, I just went back to permanent nights. Said girl went on to get pregnant about 6 months later by someone else from work. Lesson: don't dip your wick in company ink. Not me, but my best friend in school. She came onto him hard, in public. There were about a dozen people around. He was startled and turned her down. She then started screaming, stamping her feet and crying. Then she told all her friends that she would commit suicide. They tried to guilt my friend with that, but he managed to shrug it off. The whole thing blew off in 3 days. High school was weird. Had a sheik smell me all over. What the frick, I know. Grope me. Try to dirty dance with me many times after I declined several times. Tell me what a lut she was. And finally, after cupping my balls, say stop being rich. Because I wouldn't frick her. Weirdest fricking person I've ever met. She later broke some shoot in the women's restroom and walked home several miles, alone, on foot at 4 AM without telling her friends. I once went on an internet double date. My friend had been internet dating this woman for a while, and needed a driver to go meet her for the first time. To help convince me to drive, they arranged for one of her friends to come with. When we got to the meetup spot, a few cities over, the friend wasn't there, stuck at work. So I was forced to play third wheel, watching my friend and his girlfriend profess their love and make out. Needless to say, when friend finally showed up, I was overjoyed. She misinterpreted my thank god, someone to talk to reaction for a oh my god, love at first sight reaction. She got way intense way quick, so I eventually let her down as easily as I could. 4 months afterwards, I'd get multiple emails and phone calls a day, with the craziest example being an email with our names together forever. I love you typed out once for every day since we met. She also apparently went to my work once, but luckily I wasn't there at the time. I was on the verge of calling the cops after that stunt. Eventually, my complete lack of responses to her communication, and after blocking several of her email addresses, it tapered off. But I'd still get random phone calls and emails from her, even years after this all happened. Rejected 3 different girls in a 2-month span and all 3. What? Are you gay? No, so I'm ugly? I didn't say that. Word for word every incident lol. One of them was kind of fugly though. She cried and was wailing it was because she was ugly and it's a weird nose in public. I told her it wasn't and it's me. I used to think I wasn't shallow, but her nose was Mount Everest and Uncanny Valley at the same time. She later said I slapped my dong on her nose to get off. Girl asked me to prom, told her I wasn't planning on going because I wasn't interested. Told her I had to work anyway. Asked for a few days to change my work schedule so I could go. I politely declined and she understood. Pulled a knife on me, like a kitchen knife in the middle of the school. I feared my life. She swung at me a few times and gashed my cheek. Then she started slashing at herself before teachers apprehended her. She was screaming all the while as well. And people wonder why I don't like Doki Doki Literature Club. Me and this Irish chick hooked up. We had a few great nights of fricking each other's brains out. Come the following week, we played it off at work like nothing ever happened. About 2 weeks after that, we are fricking and sucking each other silly after work. I realized after a month that our 20-year difference in age is gonna let us nowhere together. I break this to her, and she walks to the site parking lot and burns my pickup truck to the ground. Like not even the aluminum rims survived this. She was arrested for arson. I laid no charges against her. I got a new truck thanks to insurance. Never frick around with a redhead. They are psycho.